Welcome. Today we want to talk about the job seeker mindset
Yeah.
because we've taught a lot of tactics and strategies on our YouTube channel for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
all around the idea of returning to work after a career break or making a pivot. We haven't really talked about one of the things that really contributes even probably an equal amount, and that's what's going on in your head.
Yeah. And the job seeking process is a challenging process. And oftentimes we think if we're just, applying and applying and applying, that we're doing enough. And the reality is that can feel really defeating. That can really, really mess with you. And so can the sting of rejection when maybe you do get, those callbacks. So we're going to talk about that here today.
Just a few tips. So the first is to manage your internal narrative.
Yeah.
So we all have negative voices that speak to us, and they can be helpful. They can be motivating. They can be self-correcting. But what you want to do is make sure the balance is a little more skewed toward the positive.
Yeah. Your mindset and the way you're looking at things is really a choice. And if you take this opportunity to determine, you know what, I am going to hear those negative voices. We all experience them, but I am going to choose to shift that and look at the positive, or look at how I am learning along this journey and having the perspective of I'm a learner in this process. And each opportunity, each thing that comes across my path that can stifle me and make me feel stuck or make me feel like I'm not enough, I'm going to stop that voice inside my head and I'm going to ask myself, how am I learning? How am I growing? And that can be just enough to get you going again. Susan, the other thing that really plays a role is the voices of the people that you are surrounding yourself with.
And that's a choice too.
Yep.
You choose who you're surrounding yourself with. And if you're making a bold career pivot that maybe some people don't support.
Right.
Or if you're returning to work after being home for a career break where people were relying on you maybe for social connection or just for help, and you're no longer going to be available to them, they may not support it.
Yeah.
So just making sure that
I want to add one more to that.
Yeah.
It's also the people that are in the job seeking process and it's not going well for them.
Oh, it's a good one too, because that can be a really, really distracting.
Yeah, because there's that old adage of misery can loves company.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is you can get stuck in someone else's mindset if that is what you're hearing on repeat, if that's the conversation that you're having. So if you have, say, an accountability partner and it's maybe somebody who is speaking negatively about the whole process, feeding that fire is going to keep you in that really negative place. And so that energy actually comes through when you're when you're interviewing. It's interesting. I have a really dear friend who works in HR. She and I were out to dinner and she was telling me how she had to do like multiple interviews. And she said, gosh, you could really feel the energy of the people that were just so negative and so jaded by the whole process.
We see it with our students.
Yep.
And it can be contagious just in the same way that something positive is contagious.
Yeah.
But another piece that's kind of on the external is your space.
Right.
Your space can determine how you feel. Yeah. So if you're, if we have windows and we have light coming in, that can be a really positive thing. If we're like,
or just the space.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, is there enough room for me is there a place for my things? I mean, for us, it's like sometimes it's too hot, sometimes it's too cold. Yeah. Even something like that can impact the way you're feeling, the way you approach and what's happening in your mind.
Yes. And oftentimes, if you are somebody who's just relaunching your career and you're just getting yourself back out there job seeking again, you might not have a designated office. You might not have a space where you're taking this seriously, because job searching is a job and you should look at it that way. You should put that professional face on and say, I am going to create a space that is set up for success for me. So if it's finding a desk or a quiet area in your home, or maybe it's I actually go to this particular library, outside of my house, and I sit in this seat, and this is where I put on that mindset that I am in job seeker mode now, and I am going to do my best work here. Just those simple little tweaks, those little acts set you up for success, and they send a message that I'm taking myself seriously here. This is not something that I'm just doing on the side. This is not something that I'm just doing when I have a quick little moment.
Right.
This is not something that I'm doing on my child's
In the car
yeah.
while waiting during practice.
Exactly.
So it's sending that external message. It's also sending an internal message
Yeah.
that I'm worth it, that I'm valuable.
Yeah.
And we've seen students that simply work at a kitchen table.
Yeah.
But they silence their phone.
Yes.
They light a candle.
Yep.
They might put some background music on. And they set a timer, say, I'm going to be working for this hour. So those external factors can really impact what's happening internally in your mind in that mindset space.
Yeah.
And then I think really important, you can't talk about mindset without talking about rejection, because more than ever, with the advent of point and click job applications, you will be rejected. It could be 100 times in a job search. That didn't happen 20 years ago when you were manually delivering applications and cover letters, but it does happen now.
Right.
So you need to have a way to work your way through that rejection, because it's going to happen regardless of your skill and qualities, regardless of your role or age in that role, seniority in that role.
And that's one, area where that rejection can come. And the other area where the rejection can come is they get all the way down the line.
Yes.
Right? You have really invested, you've actually seen, you have the vision and the dream inside of your mind of this job,
You've
and
met
you
the
landing
team,
it.
you've interviewed.
And you can picture yourself there, and then it doesn't go the way that you want. And here is the thing. You can bounce back from this, but you have to do these steps to be able to do that. So number one is to just give yourself a minute. Rejection, no matter what form it comes in, stings. And if you can give yourself a little bit of grace and space to just be human and cry or,
siphon off those feelings.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's really healthy.
It's really going to let you process through that human element of the job seeking process. And then the other one is to then reality check your story, right?
Yeah, I think just on that negative piece of that bounce back, I remember I had a fellow parent of mine, she had 4 girls, and she said she gave them 24 hours. If they didn't get the part in the play or they didn't get the captain of the team, you have 24 hours to complain and moan and cry, but then we move on. So even just setting like a timetable for yourself and being careful, again, kind of harkening back to that last point of who you're hanging around.
Yes.
Because you could have a rejection, someone else could just, what do you call it? Compiling.
Yes.
Just compile it on you.
Yes.
That doesn't help at all.
Yes.
But the reality piece is, okay, now I've gotten this piece of information. I didn't get the final interview.
Right.
So you can reality check it in a very literal way.
Right.
And ask the interviewer. Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm so grateful that I've made it this far along in the process. I'd love to know where I fell short. Get that information, because that can save you a lot if you find out that they wanted someone who's bilingual and that was the only thing that separated you and you're not bilingual.
Yes.
Right? Those are the things that can really help you through that.
And what that's doing is it's shifting the negative, right? The negative outcome, this didn't go my way, to the positive of what am I learning? How can I get better from what just happened? How can I grow from what just happened? The next one is to take stock and look at all that you've accomplished. When we do that, when we go to the place of what have I already done, it is incredible how quickly that will shift you out of that negative.
Well, in that one example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This person made it through 1,000 applicants to get an interview.
Yep.
Was one of 25 who were interviewed.
Yep.
One of 5 who made it to the final round.
Right.
I mean, just mathematically, that person has already accomplished so much.
Yes.
Yet very often we fall back on that, well, I didn't get the job. And that's all we're thinking about. Yeah. So that's taking stock is looking at the whole picture and what you did accomplish.
Yes. Yeah. And it could be even simple things like, what have you accomplished in the job seeking process from the very beginning?
Yep.
I established an area in my house where I do this now. I've grown my LinkedIn contacts by 25%.
Yep.
It's looking at all of the little ways that you have been successful when you might not be feeling so successful. And that will shift you from that negative to the positive.
I think that one of the things that sets us up for that disappointment is just bad expectations. If you set the right expectations, and your number one expectation, if you're in any type of job seeking process right now, is you should expect to get rejected. It's going to happen.
Start there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Start there. Yeah. Just that expectation that there is rejection everywhere. You could be in a market where there's job shortages. You could be in a market where it was robust and they were interviewing many, many people, but there was a stronger candidate. I mean, I could just go on and on with all of the different factors. So it's understanding that the no or the not now isn't a direct reflection on you. It's just a part of the game we're playing here when we're job seeking.
And it is a numbers game.
Yes.
So it's not strictly a numbers game. If you watch some of our other videos, we talk about how it has to be a really qualitative and quantitative approach. But if you're looking at it statistically, that no you got today is bringing you closer to the yes you're going to get tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So there you have it. Job seeking strategies for that job seeker mindset. If you liked what you heard today, you can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about us and our programming, you can visit us at www.preparetolaunchu.com.